good to see you all here this morning, and I've been hearing from Susan some of the things that you've been up to, and I'm really delighted to be here to talk to you a little bit about my mission to the International Space Station, and then there's going to be some time for questions afterwards. So if you've got any questions as we're going through the presentation, then save them for later.
How many years have you wanted to become an astronaut, and who or what inspired you?
I think I've been inspired by space since very early age, and I remember watching the shuttle launches when I was growing up. So I think that really did inspire me, and seeing astronauts coming out the back of a space shuttle to go and repair the Hubble telescope, things like that. So there's been some remarkable astronauts. Bruce McCandless was one who went out the back of the shuttle untethered, about 200 meters away, and he was a great astronaut.
Lovely. And then the next question was, what zero gravity is like. Obviously, we've seen some pictures and videos already, but how you prepare your body before and afterwards.
I think the parabolic flight really helps to prepare you for zero gravity. And afterwards, there's nothing that can prepare you for coming back to Earth. It's not very pleasant for about the first 2 days, because your body is so used to being in weightlessness. It's been there for 6 months. And when you come back to Earth, gravity really sucks. I mean, everything feels heavy, your head is spinning, you feel nauseous, your balance isn't quite right, you can't quite walk in a straight line. I couldn't do that, no way. I'd fall over in the first 2 days, you haven't got any balance. So it takes about 2 days to get all that back together again.
Okay. And then, how long did it take to see if when you were actually in space, how did your body adapt when you first got to the space station?
When your body adapts instantly, so everyone who's sat here right now, you won't notice this, but all of your blood, or lots of your blood and your body fluid, is all pooling in your legs. It's all sunk down to your legs. And in space, that doesn't happen. In space, everything shifts up to your chest and your head. So you actually become a bit puffy-faced, and you get a bit of a headache, because your body doesn't like all of this fluid shifting up. So we get rid of that body fluid after about 5 weeks. And that's one of the first changes that happen. And then the other thing is you get a bit hunched up, because your shoulders here on Earth, you're completely used to gravity pulling your shoulders down. But again, in space, your shoulders kind of shift up there, and you end up working all day like this. That gets a bit painful. So you kind of, even your neck and your shoulders, your muscles all start to change as well.
Yeah, lovely.
What did you do for work when you were in space?
For work? So most of the time we're doing science activities, and those science activities, some of them will be looking at new materials. So for example, we can make metal alloys in space that you simply can't make here on Earth, that have really cool properties, like elastic metal. You make ball bearings where you drop it and it will bounce all made straight up. They're very strong, very light. And these kind of structures help us to understand how we can use materials back here on Earth for like engine turbine blades, or for vehicles to make them lighter and more efficient. So we might be doing material science, we might be doing biology, we're pharmaceuticals, lots of drug companies are looking into space right now, because you can create vaccines in space, and you can create drugs against disease-causing proteins, those kind of stuff. So I'd probably say about 60% of our time is doing the science activities, and then about 20% of our time is spent maintaining the space station as well, because it is 20 years old, so we have to keep it going, lots of repair work inside and outside. And then the rest of the time, it's keeping fit, it's eating, it's calls to management, all those kind of activities, but mainly science. Can I do it? I'm not doing the moonwalk. You come up here and do the moonwalk.
How did you get the opportunity to go to space?
That's a good question. How did I get the opportunity? So I was, firstly, a lot of luck. The space agencies are looking for, when you're looking to choose astronauts, they're looking for people generally in their 30s, because they like to have people who've done something, they've had a career. It doesn't necessarily matter what that career is. You could have been a scientist, an engineer, a school teacher, a medical doctor. I was a test pilot. But you have to have kind of done something before. and in order to have had some experience. So you tend to select astronauts in their 30s, and I was luckily in my 30s as a test pilot, and I had a degree as well. I didn't get my degree until I was 30 years old. I left school after A-levels, joined the army, flew helicopters and got my degree later. But when the European Space Agency then had a selection process, and we are hoping to have our next astronaut selection process within the next 1.5 to 2 years, I applied, and along with that 8,000 other people. And from that 8,000 people, we selected 6 astronauts. So it was just a case of going through that year-long selection process. But there was a lot of, being in the right time at the right place, a lot of luck involved as well.
One more question over there.
How long did it take for you to get up into space?
How long does it take to get into space? So the rocket takes 8 minutes and 48 seconds to get into orbit. Space, people then say, well, hang on a second, where's space? We tend to think of space about 100 kilometers. So that 8 minutes, 48 seconds was actually more than just getting into space. That was to get actually into full orbit. So it completely depends on the rocket that you're riding in, but you've got to get up to 100 kilometers to get into space. In some of the early days, for example, the Gemini rocket, that's a really fast rocket. It will get you there quicker. But most rockets are probably around about 5 or 6 minutes to actually get into space. So not long at all. And then it took 6 hours to get from, once we got into space, it took 6 hours to rendezvous with the space station. So again, 6 hours is not long at all to get up to the ISS. You can get to the ISS faster than you can get to many places around the world.
Great. Thank you so much, Tim, and thank you for answering our questions again. If you give him another round of applause.
Thanks very much, guys. Great talking to you.